Here's the mistake almost everyone makes about power, and in the next 10 seconds, you're going to stop making it. You think power belongs to whoever has the title, the CEO, the boss, the parent in the room. Wrong. Power belongs to whoever the room actually defers to, and half the time, that's not the same person at all. Watch for it in your next meeting. Someone speaks, and the room quietly adjusts around them. That's not always the person officially in charge. That's the person who actually holds it. Machiavelli spent his life studying that exact gap, the difference between the title and the real thing. And today, you're getting the mechanism behind it in plain terms, starting right now. Quick disclaimer. This is an educational breakdown of historical philosophy and psychology, not professional advice. 5 concrete signals tell you who really holds power in any room, usually within the first 60 seconds of walking into it. Here's the first one. Signal 1. Who gets checked with before a decision lands? Watch, in any group, who people glance at before finalizing something small. Not the official approval step, the instinctive glance. That person, regardless of title, usually holds more real influence than the org chart admits. Machiavelli noticed this exact pattern in Renaissance courts. The rulers who lasted decades weren't the ones issuing the most commands. They were the ones whose likely reaction got anticipated before they even had to speak. Servants adjusted their approach. Advisors phrased proposals a certain way before presenting them. The room managed itself around a preference nobody had to state out loud. That's the tell. Real power doesn't announce itself constantly. It gets preempted by the people around it. Compare that to someone who has to repeat a request 3 times before it's followed. Even holding the higher title, that repetition itself is a signal to everyone watching that the authority isn't fully secure. The moment you catch yourself explaining a decision twice, you've already told the room something about where you actually stand, whether you meant to or not. This shows up outside formal hierarchies too. In friend groups, watch who people text first when plans need adjusting. In families, watch whose mood quietly sets the tone for the room before anyone announces anything. The pattern is identical at every scale. Signal 2. Appearance often outruns substance, and that cuts both ways. Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Machiavelli argued, bluntly, that the appearance of power often does more work than the substance behind it, because most people never actually test it. They react to the signal, not the evidence underneath it. Someone sits at the head of the table like they belong there, and the room adjusts without checking credentials first. That's not a shallow observation about human vanity. It's measurable, consistent behavior. Confident presentation reads as competence, even in situations where the two have nothing to do with each other. This cuts 2 ways, and both matter enormously. Built consistently, over time, this kind of presence accelerates real influence faster than most people expect, because trust compounds. Built on nothing, no substance underneath the confidence, it's fragile, and it collapses hard the first time someone actually tests it directly. So here's the working diagnostic worth applying constantly. Is the confidence you're observing or projecting backed by something real, or is it pure performance waiting to be exposed? That single question tells you more about a room's actual power structure than any title printed on a door ever could. Watch for the specific tell of untested confidence. It tends to be loudest about the topics it's least equipped to actually defend under real scrutiny. Genuine competence, by contrast, is often quieter about its strongest areas, because it doesn't need volume to feel secure. Signal 3. Watch what disappears quietly, not what collapses loudly. This is the signal almost nobody tracks, and it's arguably the most important one on this list. Machiavelli's sharpest observation about power wasn't really about how it gets built. It was about how it gets lost, quietly, in small moments, long before any dramatic, visible collapse. A request ignored once, with no real consequence attached. A minor disrespect nobody addressed because it wasn't worth the friction. These moments look tiny in isolation. They aren't, cumulatively. Each one functions as a small renegotiation of who actually holds influence in that relationship or room. Let enough of them slide unaddressed, and a formal title slowly becomes decorative, completely disconnected from the real, lived distribution of power. By the time the collapse becomes visible to everyone watching, the actual loss happened months earlier, in 100 small moments nobody bothered to track or name. This is precisely why people who hold real, lasting influence tend to respond to small challenges early, not out of pettiness or overreaction, but because they understand, often intuitively, that psychological power is maintained through consistent reinforcement, and it's quietly destroyed through consistent neglect. The neglect rarely feels dramatic enough, in the moment, to justify a response, which is exactly what makes it so effective at eroding position over time. Signal 4. The gap between who speaks and who decides. Here's a subtler signal worth training yourself to notice. In most rooms, the person doing the most talking and the person actually making the final call are assumed to be the same person. Often, they aren't. Watch a conversation closely enough, and you'll frequently notice a specific pattern. One person carries the discussion, generates most of the visible energy, dominates the airtime, while someone else, saying comparatively little, is the one whose brief reaction actually determines what happens next. The talker performs the appearance of driving the room. The quieter figure is often the one actually steering it. Machiavelli's own political survival depended on recognizing this distinction quickly in unfamiliar courts. Misjudging who genuinely held decision-making weight versus who simply occupied the most visible position was a mistake that cost less careful diplomats everything. The volume of someone's participation and the weight of their actual influence are frequently unrelated, and conflating them is one of the more common, costly misreadings of any room. Signal 5. How someone handles being wrong in public. This last signal reveals more than almost any other because it's one of the few moments genuine security and performed security become visibly distinguishable. Watch what happens when someone with real influence is shown to be mistaken about something in front of others. Secure power tends to absorb this cleanly, a brief acknowledgement, minimal defensiveness, quick redirection back to what actually matters. Insecure power, dressed up as confidence, tends to react very differently. Deflection, subtle blame redirection, or a disproportionate defensiveness that reveals exactly how much of the position depended on never being challenged in the first place. This is one of the fastest, most reliable ways to distinguish real authority from performed authority in real time, because it's very difficult to fake convincingly under actual pressure. Genuine security doesn't need every interaction to end in the person being right. Performed security often does, because being wrong publicly threatens the entire foundation the performance was built on. The deeper mechanism, authority versus control. Now that you have all 5 signals, here's the distinction underneath every single one of them, because this is what Machiavelli actually understood better than almost anyone writing before him. Authority is the formal right to decide something. Control is whether people actually follow through without being forced to. These sound similar on the surface. They're almost entirely independent variables, and confusing them is exactly how capable people lose real influence without ever consciously noticing it happening to them. Someone can hold complete formal authority, the title, the position, the legal or structural right to decide, and have almost no real control, because the people around them have quietly stopped genuinely deferring to their judgment in practice. Someone else can hold zero formal authority and command enormous real control, purely because people have learned, through repeated direct experience, that this particular person's judgment is consistently worth following. Machiavelli was blunt about which one actually matters more in practice. Authority without control is fragile theater. It looks convincingly like power right up until the first real test arrives, and then it evaporates almost instantly. Control, even entirely without formal authority attached to it, tends to be remarkably durable because it was earned through repeated demonstration rather than simply printed on a door or a business card. How to actually build this? Here's the practical version, because understanding the mechanism means very little without genuine application. First, consistency reliably beats intensity over time. Machiavelli's most secure rulers weren't the loudest people in any room. They were the most predictable in exactly how they handled challenges, and that predictability is precisely what builds the specific kind of trust that eventually becomes real, durable control. Second, small disrespect gets addressed early and calmly before it has the chance to compound into an accepted pattern nobody questions anymore. Waiting doesn't make the issue quietly disappear on its own. It functions as unspoken precedent, whether that was the intention or not. Third, calm, unshaken presentation genuinely does shape how your competence gets read by everyone around you. This isn't manipulation in any meaningful sense. It's an honest acknowledgement of how human perception actually operates, and using that knowledge deliberately instead of accidentally undermining your own position with visible anxiety in moments that don't actually call for it. Fourth, notice the gap between speaking and deciding in your own behavior, not just in others. If you're consistently the loudest voice in a room, but rarely the one whose input actually changes outcomes, that gap is worth examining honestly rather than mistaking volume for influence. Fifth, practice absorbing being wrong cleanly, deliberately, before it happens under real pressure. The people who handle public correction with the least defensiveness aren't naturally immune to ego. They've simply built the habit in lower stakes moments, so it holds up when the stakes are higher. And this same framework works equally well in reverse. It's exactly how you identify someone using pure appearance, with nothing genuine behind it, to claim authority they haven't actually earned yet. The tell is consistently the same, confident presentation that collapses the instant it's genuinely tested, because there was never anything substantial underneath the performance to begin with. Machiavelli didn't study power because he worshipped it as an end in itself. He studied it because he watched too many genuinely capable people lose it without ever clearly seeing the exact moment it actually slipped away from them. Because the real erosion almost always happens quietly, long before anyone around them notices the eventual, visible collapse. This week, pay close attention to the rooms you're already moving through regularly. Notice who people genuinely defer to without being asked, versus who simply holds the formal title. Notice the small moments where a reasonable request gets quietly ignored, and notice carefully what happens next, or what conspicuously doesn't. If this changed how you're going to walk into a room this week, tell me in the comments who came to mind. Someone who genuinely has real power, or someone who's quietly, slowly losing it without fully realizing why yet. And if you want the next one the moment it drops, subscribe. Next time we're covering why the most dangerous people in any room are almost never the loudest ones standing in it. I'll see you in the next one.